Good evening, everyone. We are back, episode 2 of Mad Week. I am Phil 3 times Peters. That is Lucas McKnight of Week 0. How you doing today, sir?
Doing excellent. How are you?
I am doing great. If I was an Oregon fan, I'd feel really good right now.
Cooking,
Uh,
man. We're cooking.
they are doing a pretty bang up job right now on the recruiting trail. I think you guys just picked up somebody else in the 2025 class,
We did
which is
about an hour ago.
also amazing. Um, so yeah, let's get right into it, man. I guess since the last time we actually had a show, a lot's been going on for Oregon, especially. Let's talk about it.
hmm I want to get. I don't know how far back we were, but I know that some of the notable ones. Let's see on here. Some of the notable ones, obviously. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
call him
yeah,
Efi. I guess is how we're gonna call it. What
right.
we're gonna
Yeah,
call him. 4-star
the
corner.
corner, right?
Yeah. I was 6'1", big guy. Kind of a uh. There's no way I'm blanking his name. Gonzalez type
Right.
guy.
Yeah,
Uh, let's see who else did we get since then. I think a couple
you got
quarterbacks. Luke Boga.
Grisham,
Uh,
wide receiver. Oh, you did pick
yes, we
up the
did.
Van Buren.
We got Van Buren, Luke Moga, another quarterback. Dylan Gresham, just got him recently, and then I want to say there was maybe one more. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna Zadavian Sims. Yeah, Zadavian is probably
Yeah,
how you say
yeah,
his first
the
name.
defensive
Zadavian
line,
Sims. Yeah.
which is okay. So I got to give Oregon some credit here because a lot of these guys, at least 3 of them, were at one point thought to be Big Ten leans to Big Ten teams, right? Zadavian Sims at
Mhm.
one point was considered to be a Michigan State lean,
Yep.
um, and obviously commits to Oregon. Iffy, maybe not a lean for Iffy. However, I know Michigan was recruiting him heavy, and so was the other state. He
hmm
ends up going across the country to Oregon, and uh, there was somebody else you named that. Oh, Michael
Uh,
Van Buren. Van
yeah, Van
Buren
Buren.
as well was somebody who was being recruited heavy by Big Ten schools, including Penn State, who at one point was thought to be the leader. They may even have had a crystal ball, and Oregon was able to pull
hmm
him away as well. So doing a good job over there under a new head coach.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is getting a offensive coordinator in Will Stein who has the Texas roots. He's been a
Right.
Texas high school coach for a long time, Texas college coach for a long time. So getting him has been huge for our Texas recruits, especially. But
Right.
also that kind of region, that Oklahoma and whatnot. And then um yeah, man. I mean, it's been incredible. We're up to number 6 now in the 247. Um, I think this is going to be,
Yeah,
if
man.
I'm correct, I'm pretty sure this is going to be, if everything pans out, the first time Oregon has ever had back-to-back top 10 classes. Um, so
Right.
that's pretty incredible, and it's back-to-back in the first 2 seasons for Dan Lanning, which is even more incredible.
Right.
Um, but yeah, man, it's been
That's
huge.
that's pretty massive. And picking up a recruit in the 2025 class, interior offensive lineman, Chavez Thompson, which makes 2 recruits, I believe, for you in the 2025 class right now, where you guys are
We
also
are at,
ranked top
yeah.
15, I believe.
Yep.
So yeah, it's looking pretty good if you are an Oregon fan. Do you guys have the highest? No, maybe USC, or is your class rated higher than USC's right now?
2024, we are rated higher. Yes.
Yeah. So right now that's the highest rated Pac-12 class then, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, so I think the next closest I wanted to look at this up so I didn't get it wrong, but,
Yeah.
if I remembered correctly, the next closest was out like, well outside the top 25, I wanna say, in the
Wow.
Pac-12. Yeah, so
That's
I don't know if I have
just
another Pac-12 school. Yeah, but yeah, well
that'll
outside the top
actually
25, which is pretty insane, honestly. And you get all the USC fans. They're like, "Oh,
right.
we got all these recruits. We got all this, and that." It's like you guys can't even recruit. You had 1 year where you got some transfers and then fell off the face of the earth.
Right. In
So
fact, I think Colorado might be ahead of them right now. Colorado
yeah,
might be the next team in the Pac-12. I mean, I'm guessing, but that's just
mhm.
off of memory. Um, but
Colorado
that is
right
impressive.
now. There's no okay. USC's got to be on here somewhere. There's no way I'm missing this. Do they just have no 24? Okay, wait.
I'm sure they're in position to land some guys.
So
So
they'll probably land some before signing day, but right now they only have
right,
3 commits in the
right,
2024 class. Well, we're at 14, just
absolutely.
crazy. But yeah,
Um, while we're at it, I know we got 15 guys in here, and I'm sorry we started the show a little later than we wanted to, but be sure to like and share and subscribe to both this channel and Week Zero. That would be greatly appreciated. I see some guys talking in the chat. We're gonna get to the chat here in a second, I promise. But really quick, I want to go over what's going on with Michigan recruiting right now. Obviously, we have received a few crystal balls, right? One for the recent Notre Dame decommit, who is now crystal ball to Michigan. And I can't think of his Wafel or Waffle.
just
He
call him
is a
Waffle. That's a
defensive
great name.
lineman. Exactly right. He's waffling right now, actually, waffling as we speak, but in a great way for Michigan. So I can't be upset about it. Owen Waffle, actually a 4-star defensive lineman who recently decommitted from Notre Dame and has several crystal balls now for Michigan. And Michigan also picked up another crystal ball for 3-star defensive lineman David Pali, who I believe would play center. So Michigan still doing well on the recruiting trail. Obviously, Micah Kayapana out of Las Vegas. Bishop Gorman is also crystal ball to Michigan, and so is Jeremiah Beasley and Jacob Smith, actually. So good things on the horizon for Michigan and Michigan recruiting. Let's talk a little bit about uh, Pac-12 and Pac-12 recruiting really fast before we get back. Um, right now, Oregon is so far ahead in terms of the recruiting and the momentum, and I feel like what I've learned about this thing over the couple of years that I've really been focused on recruiting is that it's all about momentum. Last year, Notre Dame got some early momentum and that carried them. They got some decommitments towards the end, but they still had a good class. We got some early momentum, and it carried us to like the number one team ranking for a while. We recently were overtaken by Georgia, and that's to be expected. But it is really a momentum thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. It is all momentum, but I mean, if you look at the history of the Pac-12, especially over the past couple of years, my dogs are coming in here freaking out.
No, no, that's cool.
Um, if you look at the over the past couple of years, Oregon has really dominated the Pac-12 in all of recruiting, and especially like I mean, shoot, this goes back to like 2008. I want to say Oregon has pretty much dominated the pack in recruiting.
Yeah,
And it's kind of one of our biggest, like, I guess, two-edged swords where it's like we're getting better recruits than the rest of these guys, the rest of these teams, and it's reflecting in the Pac-12. Whereas Oregon, obviously, they have the most Pac-12 championships out of any of the schools,
yeah,
but it's not reflecting nationally. And so I think that's kind of a kind of something that's really changing now. And I think you saw kind of the same thing with Michigan, where it's like really translating nationally now that all these good recruiting classes are coming in, and now
Right.
they're a perennial playoff team every year at this point.
Yeah, and I think is definitely uh that is certainly the thing, right? We and I spoke about this on the last live. We had Ryan Roberts from um IB Nation. He was live on the Maize and Blue and Gold show with me and Ryan, and we spoke about how sometimes it takes like a little bit of because Michigan now has made it to back college football playoffs, but it's just really this year, right, 2024, where we're starting to see that really start to pay off. After the first year in 2021, everyone's expecting us to have like a great recruiting class, and it didn't necessarily go that way. And you can blame a couple things, right, including not least of which the coach flirting with the NFL. So there's
Right.
that, but also you still expect it for us, or at least I did expect it for us to be able to, you know, come out and get some quality recruits. Now, and I'm not saying we didn't get quality recruits because I don't want to disrespect the recruiting class or anybody in it, but
Right.
it certainly wasn't as strong as one would expect coming off a playoff appearance.
Yep. And and that's something I kind of worry about, with Oregon as well, is like, can we keep that, as you spoke about, momentum? Can we keep that momentum moving forward? And can we even keep Dan Lanning? Because obviously a 10-3 season every week.
Right.
Uh uh obviously coming off a 10-3 season in his first year,
Right.
um uh if he starts to have a lot of success in these crazy recruiting classes, how long can we hold on to him
Yeah.
before he goes to the league, or before he even goes to an SEC school, which a lot of Oregon fans are pretty worried about that, afraid, because he started out at Arizona State. He ain't gonna go back there, but but he won a
Right.
national championship on the coaching staff with Alabama. So, and then obviously as a defensive coordinator for Georgia, how long is Georgia gonna have Kirby Smart? Maybe he goes to the league. Like, as an Oregon fan, we're kind of afraid of that. Whereas, like, for a Michigan fan, I feel like you guys had that fear last year a little bit, but I feel like it's starting to get less and less as Jim stays.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
just because, like, he really has no need, or he he pulled from that pot already. He was there. He experienced it. Went to a Super Bowl as a head coach, and now
Yeah.
he's at his alma mater, winning a lot of games. He wants to win that national championship more than anything. So I feel like for you guys, it's
Right.
more, especially this year, is a sigh of relief.
Yeah. There is a bit of a sigh of relief. However, there is another side that says if he wins the Natty, right? What else is there to accomplish, right? It's not like Michigan hasn't won a national championship since '97, so he'd automatically vault himself into rarefied air. Um, and then going back to the league seems again like something that he hasn't still chasing a feeling, right? He's gotten to the Super Bowl, sure. He even put up a
Wants to
good
win
fight
that.
in that Super Bowl, but winning it is different than getting there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I hope though that he's said all the right things. So hopefully,
Right.
that's just the way it is, and we get to keep him. Um, what is let's moving forward. If there was a team or a program that you're worried about as far as recruiting goes out west, who is that?
I think it has to come down to USC.
Yeah.
Obviously not a fan of the Trojans. Never have been. Never will be.
Right.
They're just a couple steps down from Oregon State and Washington, but they're right up there. They're right
Right.
up there. Hate them, hate them. But you can't argue with what they have done in their history,
Mhm.
especially. They're going to be up there, Los Angeles school. But I mean, I guess now that I think about it, they're not even going to be in the pack, and we might be in the Big Ten too here soon. So I don't really know. But um, as far as like schools that are in the Pac-12 right now, I would say USC, UCLA making a push too. I know that Chip Kelly is obviously a great recruiter,
Right.
and down there in LA, everybody wants to live that Los Angeles
I
dream and
know.
all the girls and all this stuff. It's it's one of those things. But UCLA and USC are up there. Um, Maybe Arizona State out of left field because Kenny Dillingham is a very, very good recruiter and
Yeah.
obviously a very good coach, and so they might make a push as well.
Okay.
But right now, I mean, I like I said before, I'm genuinely not worried about
Yeah.
any of these. As far as recruiting goes, I'm not worried about any of these teams taking recruits from Oregon or anything like that. I think the Dante Moore deal was
Oh man, yeah.
kind of an anomaly
Yeah.
because of the offensive coordinator change, and I think our offensive coordinator actually liked Austin Novosad more than Dante
Okay.
Moore,
Yeah.
and so that's why that whole just change happened. But I don't see that happening much more.
Yeah. Um so there is a obviously there's a coach in your conference that's garnering a lot of attention, whether it's negative or positive, and a lot of it has been negative. And actually,
I'm listening.
Narduzzi actually just spoke out about some of the about the way that he, kind of flipped the team, if you will. And I'm speaking of course of Deion Sanders or Coach Prime, however, whatever he wants to be called these days. And um, obviously there was a mass exodus of players, right? Upwards of 30 players that you know entered the transfer portal, and he kind of made that clear from day one that that's what he wanted to do. But my question is, and to the people in the comment section too, please comment on what you think of this. Pat Narduzzi, the coach at Pitt, I believe he's at Pitt. uh he basically said when you come in, you take over a new team, you inherit the players on that team, and that you know sending uh, half the team to the transfer portal is not the way to do it, and it's not what he got into.
Did you mute yourself on accident at the end there?
Uh, so yeah, what do you think about Pat Narduzzi's stance on, it's not how it's supposed to be, basically.
I completely agree, and I call he's called Coach Prime. I call him Coach Grime because
Mm,
he is a grimy mother trucker. He says all these things like, oh, if you're in the transfer portal soft, he's kind of like he has this like Nick Saban-esque kind of deal with the transfer portal, yet he wants to
yeah,
pull all these kids from the portal and he wants to send everybody to the portal. Like, he's grimy. I 100% agree with Pat, but I just it's really not how it's supposed to be done,
yeah,
and it sucks. I think the transfer portal is one of those things where you can't really regulate it as well as I think they're going to have to do with the NIL, because NIL is a whole different ball game.
right,
But you can't really regulate the transfer portal because you can't tell a kid, hey, no, you can't go to the school of your dreams because they want you. Like, say you are an absolute stud at Portland State University and you really want to go to Oregon, but you couldn't out of high school, and now they're like, well, no, transfer portal doesn't work that way. You can't. So you can't do that to kids.
right,
However, the kids that are like, oh, it didn't work out at South Carolina, let's go to Georgia. It didn't work out at Georgia, let's go to BYU. Oh, it didn't work there either, let's go to Washington State. Like, I just don't agree with that kind of stuff. And I
yeah,
think that's kind of what we're seeing at Colorado, where it's like he wants to just pull anybody and everybody. And I think it's gonna continue. And turn over the rest. I I don't think he needed to turn over the roster like he did. Um, because I think that they did have some stud players on that Colorado team. They just didn't know how to play together, and a lot of them were really young. If you looked at their roster from last season, a lot of them were really young. So I don't think he needed to flip it over like he did at all.
Yeah,
It really was. I mean, going back to it, it was the wrong way of doing everything, and I think he just would have. I think he would have been better off, and it would have showed more kids coming in that he is willing to like work with them and make them better if he would have stuck with, I mean, even 20 of the 53 kids that transferred out. Like I don't agree with it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was pretty. It's not been done like this, right? For sure. I mean, the transfer portal hasn't been an awful long time. Been around an awful long time, but even still, this seems to be that seemed to be extreme. And there are like extreme sides here. I love Prime as a player, not so much as the coach. Um, Salute to Troy Wilbert. I think, and I feel the same way. Like I love him as a player. I loved him as a
Mhm.
coach in Jackson State. I thought he was doing a great job bringing some awareness and attention to that university and to HBCU's period. But I do think he's it's a little bit much what he's doing right now. So I'm gonna
Definitely.
agree with that for sure. Um, so I know some guys want to get into guys in the comment section for sure. Want to get
Yeah.
into some upcoming visits. Right next week, I mean next month is in June is really officially like official visit month, at least for Michigan. I'm sure that Oregon has some official visits planned as well, and it's going
Mhm.
to be some heavy hitters on campus. Right, we've got 5 stars. Um, and multiple 4 stars that are going to be on campus. Justin Scott, of course, the 5 star defensive lineman, who I don't think Michigan. I'm well. There's no reason to say think Michigan is not the favorite to land. Notre Dame and Miami are in a duel for his services. However, you never know what happens when you get a kid on campus, especially for an OV. Things can change. And in fact, I think Miami picked up a crystal ball for him today or yesterday.
Mhm.
So there is that. Called themselves who called themselves Prime? I can be a super fan. Dirk Dick.
Dirk Diggles.
Absolutely, Sean. We would be, I think if we got on him early, he would have committed. We still have a chance though. Uh is this Jason? Are you talking about Justin Scott here? Getting on him early? Because I do believe we were on him early. I just think he wanted. I think initially it was about being close to mom, and then when Miami showed the bag, it was about the bag. So
Mhm.
there's that.
Well, and part of it too is just the Mario Cristobal effect. I mean, at Oregon, I mean, he had crazy good recruiting classes at
He did.
Oregon, and he was coming off of, some pretty subpar seasons that Oregon had. I mean, they went 4-8, then 7-5, and then they hired Mario. And then he brought in some top 15 classes. So I mean that Mario Cristobal effect, he's one of the best. I don't think he's one of the greatest coaches out there. He's definitely
Yeah.
not a super good coach, but man, he is a heck of a recruiter.
Right. I'm actually 3 times. People are texting me while I'm alive
Yeah,
here. But yeah, man. So I think tonight, are you guys doing the Pac-12 tonight?
we are.
All right. I'm definitely tuning in. Everybody that is tuned in right now, make sure to go tune in tonight for the Pac-12 conference breakdown. Much the same way we did the Big Ten rather last
We
Friday.
are. It is just going to be me and Ryan. So if you do want to join us, we would not. Um,
Oh, all right.
we'd be
Yeah, yeah.
totally cool with that.
I can get
Our other
down with
guys,
that.
our other guys are
They're going to
got got.
Barstool.
They're going to Barstool. Yeah,
Going
they
to
got stuff planned.
all right. Nah, for sure I can definitely participate. So yeah, I don't want to get too much. Then I won't dig too deep on the Pac-12 and the records because we're going to save that
Right.
for tonight. However, as you saw, pretty much across the board last week, everyone had Michigan winning the Big Ten. I think there was some discrepancy about who Michigan would face in that Big Ten West. In fact, Lucas, I think you were somebody who's high on Wisconsin,
Yes.
and you believe in what Luke Fickle can do in year one. Let's talk a little about it.
Mm-hmm. Luke Fickle, Tanner Mordecai, a guy that I swear, like I said this on the show, I swear he's been in college football for a million years. He's like the Bo Nix, Stetson Bennett type quarterback. He's been
Yeah,
in there
yeah.
forever. Um, they have one of the better, and his name is blanking me right now, but they have one of the best running backs in college
Yes,
football.
they do.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but one of the best running backs in college football. And they had a crazy um transfer class.
Mm-hmm.
As 247 likes to have a million ads on their stuff. I wanted to look more into their transfer class because I looked at it last show. And I mean, it is. I was already kind of high on Wisconsin. I thought that Wisconsin was going to be one of the
Yeah,
better teams, but then when I saw their transfer class, it completely helped my
right.
ideas. Um, yeah, they got so. Where's the transfer? Oh, it's because I was on offers. That's why. All right, commits. There we go. Transfer class for 2023. I'm an amateur, as you guys can see. They didn't have a great like actual recruiting class, but they had 14 guys transfer in. Yeah,
Yeah.
14 transfers in. CJ Williams, I think, is going to be a stud from
Mm-hmm.
USC. A couple other bigger receivers, Bryson Green from Oklahoma State, Quincy Burrows from Cincinnati. Like they really beefed up their offense, and then a few guys on the defensive side. I just think they're going to be a really good team. Now, I don't think they're going to be, obviously winners because I think Michigan's by far and away the best team
Right.
in the Big Ten this year. But I do think that based off of their schedule and everything, with Tanner Mordecai coming in, very experienced, some good wide receiver transfers in, a great running back, great coach, and Luke Fickle. I think they can get
For
10
sure.
wins. I think they can get 10 wins for sure.
Yeah, and I think you're talking Braylon Allen, I believe, is the running back there,
Yes,
right?
Braylon Allen.
Um, so I am a person who believes in Iowa, and it could just be the Michigan bias in me because they got like half of Michigan's team over there right now. So I think Iowa is a team that will be, 10-2, 11-1, playing for the Big Ten championship against Michigan, of course,
Mhm.
where they lose. Now that could also just be like the poetic in me too, because I feel like that's probably the most poetic Big Ten championship, or at least story esque Big Ten championship. There's a lot of story to be written about that if that happens.
Mhm.
But as you pointed out, Iowa struggles with offense. And I don't even think struggles is a fair word. That's like
I mean,
degrading struggle.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When he
They
has 21 points in his contract, that's kind of
right.
like that's not good. Not good.
Not at all, actually. And that's just saying it being nice, actually, that because they are just not good at offense in Iowa. So if they get any semblance of offense, I think that that's a dangerous team. Um, and also, my guy Antoine Johnson agrees with me, so it must be the gospel. Uh, because when
I could see it. I could see them being the favorite
yeah,
in the West. However, I got to see it to believe it.
I
They
agree.
gotta put up some points on the board for me to even think that they're going to win some games.
Right.
Obviously their defense can win them games by themselves, but with the kind of offenses that I think they're kind of putting together in the Big Ten, you're gonna have to score points, and if you can't, you're not gonna win very many games.
No, that's a fact, and I'm not mad at that because that is very true. And maybe a lot of people don't want to talk about stuff like that, but it's certainly the truth. Okay, so let's talk about uh TV deals. All
Well,
right, I know.
there is one guy that I wanted to talk about right here
Oh,
because
please go ahead.
I think it's going to be an interesting one. We actually recently had a visit of Brandon Baker, and
Oh,
I, it, I think it was a great visit. He was talking to Gresham actually committed while Baker was on his visit,
right.
and so it was pretty good timing for all of that. So I want to hear your thoughts on where you think he goes and if Michigan has a chance or if Oregon.
So I'm gonna be completely honest, and I know this is gonna crush some Michigan fans. I don't think we have a chance. Um, I think maybe we can get one of those official visits. And you know how earlier I said anything can happen when somebody goes on an official. Don't think it's gonna happen for Brandon Baker though. So there is that. I would love to have Brandon Baker. Who wouldn't, right? I think your biggest competition for Brandon Baker is going to be USC. Um,
I think it's going to be Miami
oh well,
and
well yeah. I gotta. That's
Miami.
across the country though, man. I don't know if
Miami worries me though, just because of their head coach. Like I said before, it's that the Mario Cristobal effect. I mean, he's you know
right.
obviously, and he also took one of the best offensive line coaches in the country with him that we had, Coach Panay Sewell, and some of the other really good offensive linemen that we had from last year.
Yeah,
His name is I
Nua,
can't see it, but what was that?
Sean Nua. Did you guys have
No,
Sean Nua?
I don't think so. It
All right.
was shoot. I'd have to I'd have to look at it. He's that like he's like a small skinny dude. He doesn't look like
Yeah.
he should be a offensive line coach, but he is an absolute he is incredible
Right.
coaching offensive line. Let's see. But anyways, yeah, I was curious because I know that we have a few guys that both of our teams
Right.
are looking at right now. Obviously,
He's
rushing. I don't think you
certainly
guys
one
are.
of them. Um, there is Elijah Rushing, who I don't believe we got a Moose,
You guys are
who
cooling
has
down
been
a lot.
keeping, yeah, who's been keeping track of all the officials. Moose, is Elijah Rushing one of the official visits? Let me know. I do think he's one that we're trying to get. Hopefully, we can get that visit. Notre Dame feels very comfortable about their position with Elijah Rushing, though.
Yes, they
What do you
do.
think about that?
They do feel very comfortable, but there was one difference that I saw when I was looking at this, and it's that when you on 247 you can see who they're actually being recruited by, like who went on the visit to see them.
Yeah,
And as
I
dogs
think
every day
July is the
our
dead
head
period. I don't think we're getting a visit in July.
yeah our head coach Dan Lanning is actually the recruiter for Elijah Rushing, while as Notre Dame's is their head recruiter is going out there
Right.
and talking to him. So I think that is, to me, that's the difference, is that our head coach is out there recruiting him, whereas the defensive line coach for Notre Dame is talking to him. Um, I want him. I want him bad. I've been battling with Ryan about this,
Yeah.
and I just keep telling him that rushing is ours, and he does not like to hear that.
Yeah. So I think it might come down to, you guys, maybe uh Notre Dame, USC, because we don't have an official visit for them right now. Guys are saying maybe July, but I'm pretty sure July is the dead period. We can't have officials during July, I don't think. So there is that. There is the case of Aaron Scott, the curious case of Aaron Scott, who is the cornerback out of Springfield, Ohio, whose top three actually consist of Michigan, Oregon, the other state. Right now, I think we're in a fight with Ohio State for his official visit or for his services, because that would be something. But anyway, Aaron Scott, who has the top three by all accounts of Oregon, Michigan, Ohio, the other state, almost said it. Um, what do you think you guys stand with him? You're muted or something.
Yeah, I was muted. I got to remember who Aaron Scott is, which probably
The
means that we're.
cornerback out of
Oh, yeah,
Springfield.
yeah, 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 yeah. Probably means that we're not going to get him if I don't remember who it
Probably
even is, because we haven't been talking about him enough.
probably means they're not gonna get him, right?
Right now, 247 has him 100%. Ohio State, or the other state, we're on the Mad Week here. The other state, um, like I said, we clearly haven't been talking about him very much. If
Yeah.
he's not even
I think it's a done
on,
deal,
if
man.
I don't really know him or he's not on our radar too much. Yep, probably going to the other state, unfortunately.
I think it's a done deal. I was confident about this one like a week, 2 weeks ago. Uh
He thinks it's
Antoine
between
saying
the other
it's
state
a
and
battle
Michigan
between
for rushing.
for is this for rushing?
If it's for rushing,
Nah, I don't think it's for rushing. I think he's talking about Scott. Um which I'm feeling less and less confident about too. I was confident that we would get an official from Baker. I was confident that we would win over Scott. I'm feeling less confident about both of those things. Yeah, he's talking about Scott.
mm-hmm. Talking about
Uh,
Scott, yeah.
okay, let me ask you about this. What do you
Okay.
think about? Do you think spies are real? And when I say this, I mean kids that are planning to go somewhere else, right? Haven't yet committed, maybe to another school, but they come and visit like a rival school just to get information. Do you think that's real?
I don't.
Okay.
I 100% know. I know this for a fact actually because I've heard it plenty of times that there are kids that 100% know that they're going to a school, but then
Right.
they take like 5 or 6 other visits to these other schools just because they
Yeah,
can,
yeah. I'm
and
not
it's,
mad
you
at
know,
that. I
free
mean, you should.
free lodging. You know,
Right,
you get
right.
to look at schools,
Go
and it's,
visit some
yeah,
other places, right?
yeah, see what they give you, because I know that a lot of these recruiters will try to, like, you know, give you stuff which isn't technically allowed, but I know that they all do it. Um, but as far as like spy, I think that's kind of a stretch. A buddy of mine is actually a recruiting intern for the Ducks, so I could ask him about it, but I think that's kind of a stretch. I couldn't see that really happening. Maybe.
I remember. Okay, so Charles Woodson, and granted, he was being recruited 30 years ago, I guess now, right?
Right.
But maybe not 30. Yeah, it was a long time ago. We'll just say
Pretty
that he
close,
was being
yeah.
recruited. But he was saying that on his visit, David Boston was on that visit, who on his official visit, who
Mhm.
obviously went and played wide receiver for the other state. He and
Okay.
Charles Woodson had a little bit of a rivalry going on during those days. And David Boston, um, allegedly on that visit, said that he was going to be going to Ohio State and he just came to Michigan so he could tell them in their face, I guess, which I guess is a little
That's pretty
less about
funny.
spying and the more about just like sticking it to Michigan. But yeah,
Well, you can see who came out on top out of the two.
right. Yeah, yeah.
But
Nobody remembers David Boston.
nobody remembers David Boston.
Right.
But I find that extremely funny. And if I was a top recruit, I would do the same thing for like USC or something. Um,
I mean, yeah,
I
that's
I
that's
do
fair.
believe I do believe in a false flag kind of by the media when it comes to recruits. I do
Yeah,
believe in that, and I see it very often where you'll get like this weird thing where a recruit commits, say, to Washington,
right,
and then they put in there like he chose Washington over Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon. And it's
right,
like, oh, this kid wasn't even getting recruited by these three schools, yet you're adding it in there like they picked Washington over them. You do
right,
see that quite a bit, and you see a lot of these like um predictions where it's like so out of left field and completely untrue,
right.
and you see that pretty often in the recruiting trail.
Um, so here's another thing that I've noticed in recruiting this season, right?
Mm.
Is Michigan has made several teams or several players rather top list, right? Do you think that some kids just put some schools on their top list just to have a top list pretty much or make it look good?
I do.
Yeah.
I do for sure.
Some
You
kids
know,
that
there
that were never even talked about like on these sites about or by anybody about, being recruited by some of these schools.
yeah, I 100% do. I see it. I mean, you see it all the time, especially these kids that are putting out these top my dog is drinking in the back. Gotta love the dogs, man. Gotta love
Right.
dogs. Um, especially these recruits that uh are lower under the a little bit
Right.
lower down there. They're throwing up a bunch of these like different schools in their top. Um, I think a big part of recruiting this year as well, and something that I've seen is there's no, and this comes with the transfer portal. There's no risk.
Yeah.
There is no risk anymore for these kids whatsoever because you can go to the place that gives you the best NIL, even though you hate them. Say you're a born, raised, bred Michigan fan your
Yeah.
entire life, but the other state is offering you a Lambo and a three-story house, and you've been living in Detroit your entire life, and you're like,
Right.
well, I mean, I can go play. Take this stuff, go play for Ohio State my redshirt freshman
Shout
year.
out to
Don't even have
Detroit.
to. Yeah,
No
yeah.
disrespect. What
No
up though?
disrespect to
Right, right.
Detroit. Um, but you could go there, go out your redshirt freshman year. You don't even got to play. You just
Right.
practice for a year, and then you're like, nah, I'm gonna go transfer to the team that I actually like, and
Right.
play the rest of my 4-year career at the team that I actually like. And it's something that you're seeing very, very often now. I think you're seeing a lot more of these freshman, sophomore guys transferring out to these other schools that were in their top 20. Or
What up
hey,
though?
to be fair, I've never made my way out to Michigan, so I can't say too much. It's just what I
Yeah, yeah.
see. Uh, but you're just seeing a lot less of a risk from these
Right.
kids. They just don't have to worry it. They don't have to worry anymore.
Yeah. No, for sure. I agree with that. I can uh shoot Quinn Ewers probably did
There you
something
go.
similar, right? Went to
Yep.
the other state, decided, I
A
got
year
what I need
early
here
too. He
a
passed
year
up his
early because they gave him like a
senior
million.
year.
There was some crazy amount of
Mm-hmm.
money. And, I'll take this money while I can get it and then head back over to Texas, go back home.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't agree. I mean, I get I think the reason why you can reclassify right now is because of the 2020 season is still in effect.
right.
I think like cuz once those kids are done, will you still be able to reclassify? I don't know how all that works. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
if
you're
you
right
know,
about that.
because I don't agree with the reclassifying thing whatsoever. I don't think that should be even a thing. I hope it's done once the 2020 stuff is done because
Oh
there were kids
Lord,
in.
you've started something in the
Did
comment
I?
section.
Oh, with Detroit. I guys, I've never been to Detroit. It was just the first. It was the first place in Michigan that I go. East Lansing. There you go. I
There
don't
you
know.
go.
Are they crappy
Right.
too? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Hey,
I
look,
said
I've been to
two.
Detroit several times. I got family in Detroit, off of the 6 Mile and
There you go.
Mansfield. So Detroit's a great city. It's a historical city. Motown, all of that, right? It's a good
There you
place.
go.
All right.
Yeah, great place.
Yeah.
It. I mean, brought us some of the best rappers of all time. There you go.
Right,
We love it.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, I mean, I digress. It's just it's kind of like it. It's a crazy thing, with all this reclassifying. The fact that you can go into high school or go into college as a junior, which makes you like 17, maybe even 16 years old, get $1 million and be absolutely terrible and bounce to somewhere else. I just think
Right.
it's ridiculous. It's turning into more college football is turning into a like an industry more than a just football.
Right. I agree, man. It is a big business. The comment section is destroyed. I'm not even gonna I'm not even gonna try
Oh
to go
man.
there with that. But yeah, it definitely has turned into big business. But I feel like it's been that way forever, man. The difference now is kids are getting paid. That's really the difference. Kids are getting paid. Well, let me take that back because kids have also been getting paid for a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are getting paid out in the open now. There we go. It's no longer these under the table deals that you have to hide pretty much because
And these
now you can
places
just
have
go
more
get your money.
money. So
Right.
that's actually curious that you say that because obviously we've known for years like they'll never admit it. Alabama players will never admit it, but they were getting paid back in the day.
Right, right.
Do
Yeah.
you think do you
SMU had a whole, they got
yes,
the
the
death
whole deal.
penalty
Yep.
for
Yep. So, do you think, which I find super funny, to pay for a bunch of kids and not win anything? Um, I find that hilarious, and I think a lot of
right.
teams are doing it. But do you think that the amount of money that's being paid right now is the same, or if they just like we're paying them little tiny bits at a time, like maybe a couple hundred or a couple thousand at a time? Whereas now they're like, well, I mean, let's just throw the bag. I mean, throw the McDonald's bag, so to speak,
Right.
for the
Well,
old
yo, you know
volunteers.
what's crazy is
But
what's my guy that was the coach of Louisville's basketball team got in all that trouble because they were giving like paper bags with like
yeah,
thousands of dollars in them. Patino,
yeah,
Patino,
Patino,
like he'd
yeah,
be okay right now. But I do think it's more money now, if I'm being
yeah,
fair, right? Even back to like Reggie Bush, and like what they said he was getting from that booster or whatever. Because here's the thing: the boosters are just one person and one guy and one offs a lot of the
mhm,
time. You know what I mean? And they're
yeah,
paying like maybe the best guy or maybe the best three guys or best four guys. Whereas now a freshman who hasn't even stepped on the field can get the bag. Um,
hmm
Offensive linemen are getting bags now. That wasn't necessarily the case. They weren't the sexy positions back
right,
when like the boosters were the guys that were under the table giving money.
yep. I 100% agree.
Yeah. Um all right, we'll take it to the comment section because I want to
So,
break up some of what's happening here
break up this craziness.
before they ban me from Detroit. Uh, 23
So,
people in the live. Make sure you guys hit the like button, share it. Make sure you subscribe, of course, to both Maze Madman and Week Zero. Tonight, Week Zero is live again, talking Pac 12 conference. So make sure you tune into that, breaking down the Pac 12 conference. Um, all right. Let me let's go here to the comment section because I want to go. Let's talk about
yeah,
it. Burn Rubber in Detroit, by the way. Awesome sneaker place. If you're ever in Detroit, make sure you stop by there. Burn Rubber.
there you go. I probably will never find myself in
Pretty
Detroit, but
soon. Probably. Look, yeah,
Hey,
probably
look
won't
at
be
that
there.
kid. What's that kid? Baby Gronk or whatever, getting
Yeah, yeah.
paid to be like a. They think he's like some prodigy, and he's really just a like 7-year old.
Wait, what? Man, you guys are still going?
Still
All
going
right.
on Detroit, man.
We have this thing called internet for crime.
This is a college football
All right,
podcast.
look, guys. Detroit is also in Michigan. Um,
Yeah, go blue, baby.
it is a city, right? It's a major city. A lot of major cities have crime problems.
Hey,
Some more than others.
it's nothing compared to Portland, all right? Portland is a war zone right now.
Is it?
It's a war zone. It
That
is
sounds
like
crazy.
yeah, I'm serious. Like it's terrible.
Wow.
they don't arm their cops in Portland cuz they can't.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's like that bad to where there's I mean, crime everywhere, but it's terrible.
Yeah, man. See, so across the nation, man, crime
It's
is
everywhere.
crazy. Right. It's not just Detroit. Um,
It's mostly Detroit, but it's,
it's
other
mostly hey, don't worry, they'll be gentrified here soon. It's coming.
Yep, yep.
But yeah, I'm joking. I'm joking. By the way, all these are jokes. People don't take these serious.
They are jokes.
Yeah,
Jason Moore's going on about Baby Gronk, and I love it. Or Jason Moose.
yeah. Baby Gronk is probably he's definitely getting paid.
A lot of
Yeah,
money. A lot.
for
And
sure.
I don't know how or why, but he's getting paid.
Um, all right, we got about 10 more minutes. What time is the live tonight?
It probably like I mean roughly like 15 or so minutes after this one.
Oh, Jesus Christ! All right,
Yeah.
so so we got about 8 more minutes. We're gonna end this one at 7 o'clock. In the comment section, we're gonna do this. Tell us what recruit out there right now do you want the most? What's the most coveted recruit left for you and your team? Let's do the same, Lucas. Who do you want the most that's left on the board?
Well, for me, who do I want the most? The guy I want the absolute most. We're not going to get him. We don't have a chance. It's one of
Okay.
your guys too. Is Ryan Wingo.
Ah,
I think he's going to go to Georgia. I think that's pretty much set in stone. But he's the guy I want the most because I think he's incredibly good. But guys that we can actually possibly get, Elijah Rushing for sure, and I
Elijah
think he's
Rushing.
coming. I think he's coming to Oregon.
The New Life says Gatlin Bear 2024, Bryce Underwood 2025. Bryce Underwood in 2025 is great. I do want to keep it to 2024 though, because we'll go down a whole different rabbit hole for 2025.
Yeah, right.
Um, Portland was awesome. Been a while. Taylor Swift. Did you say Taylor? Oh, Taylor Tatum. Taylor Tatum is the pick for Sean Paul Anthony. Taylor Tatum would be great. He is now the number one running back in the nation, and Michigan is very
Mm-hmm.
much in the race for him. Wingo and Scott, I would, if we got both of them, that would also be awesome, and I would take it. So, anybody else? Who else we got? Aaron Scott, Taylor Tatum. I would take that. Troy Wilbert. Shout out to the OG. Says Tatum. I would take
You
it.
guys want Tatum? What is he crystal balled at right now?
He only has one crystal ball, and that's for Michigan. But that crystal
Ooh.
ball came like 2 months ago, so things have changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys have any? He's a running back. You said.
He's the number one running back in the country now.
Are there
Tatum,
any? Did you guys?
Childs, Mingo, Scott. You want everybody, Moose.
Yep, all of them, all the good players, all the good players that are on our prospects list on
Right.
247. I want them all.
Exactly. Let's grab them
Uh,
all.
do you guys have? I want to see actually if do you guys have any other running back recruits in the 2024
We
class
do. We
or
have Jordan Marshall, 4-star out of Ohio. He
okay.
really got this thing kicked off. We are crystal ball for Michael Kayapana out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas.
There you go.
But yeah,
So you guys are in a battle, right? So it looks like Oklahoma and USC are his other teams
for Taylor.
for Taylor, yeah. Oh, no way. Your running back coach is Mike Hart? That's sick.
Come on, man, where you been? Of course, Mike.
I
Remember he
don't know.
passed
I
out
don't
on the
know.
sideline in Iowa
Oh,
last
that's
year.
right. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. That's right. That's right. I was just actually I watched the Oregon Michigan game back in 07
you
the
guys
other
got to
day.
quit this.
Watched the whole thing. Yeah, I
We
mean, come on.
stop this. It is a bit lower. Chicago has like 4 million people, so they can kill 500 people a year, and it doesn't hit the same as when you have 300,000 people and you kill
Yeah, it's all right.
500
It's
people a year.
population control. We'll be all right.
Population control. Either stop killing people should be the message.
That's the message.
Right.
That's the message. But if we have to, keep it in Detroit.
Keep. Yo, I do not approve. Lucas is.
I'm a low key comedian. It's all right. It's just jokes. We're joking here. It's all jokes.
Lucas's thoughts are Lucas's, and Lucas is alone.
Yes.
In no way
I do not
they
apologize.
reflect.
I do not apologize for anything I've said or ever said.
There we go.
Will say. However, they are jokes.
Indiana, you are right about that, Bruce. Was it Indiana? Either way, he passed out on the sideline, man. That's all.
I remember.
Hopefully he's healthy now. I thought that was Iowa. I'm pretty sure that was Iowa.
Was it Iowa? The Mike Hart, Darren McFadden, like they were the two like absolute biggest studs in college football coming out, and they both, I mean, fell flat on their faces. Unfortunately, no pun intended for Mike Hart, but
McFadden. I know all too well about the McFadden thing because I am a Raiders fan, and we drafted McFadden, and he was always hurt.
Yeah, he had a lot of injury issues. I remember he was fast as hell too. He was so good, and then he just had all the injury issues. And Mike Hart went to where? Like Indy? Didn't he get drafted by the Colts?
Yeah, he did go to Indy. Yeah.
Well, that was his first problem.
And Troy, I think you're right. All you guys were right. It was Indiana. It was Indiana that he passed out. Was not Iowa. I stand corrected.
There you go. Jason, you are not wrong. You are not wrong about Portland.
Portland's a dumpster fire. Hold on. Portland is a rainbow city.
Yeah.
I'm not touching this. We got to go. We got to get out of here.
I'm not touching this. Stay away from that. Stay away from that bird.
Right.
Go Ducks. Go Ducks. Go Blue.
Exactly. There we go. Meet us on the other channel in 15 minutes. I'm upset.